So from Paysandu live to Rivera, and we are now looking forward to the match of the tournament. The quarter-final meeting of Brazil and Argentina kick off in about 10 minutes from now. One goes home, one stays on to play the United States in the semi-final. Here's what Brazil and Argentina have been doing to thrill us so far in this championship. There was no Copa America recall for Brazil's biggest names of all, Romario and Bebeto. They were left at home as Mario Zagallo's side took the field against Ecuador, and up until the moment when the Ecuador fullback Juan Guaman was sent off, there didn't appear to be a way through for Brazil. The world champions prevailed with the extra man advantage.
Firmino with a corner near post, and Brazil finally make the breakthrough, and it's the defender Ronaldinho who has scored.
Argentina were opening their campaign much more convincingly.
Back come Argentina with Zanetti. A bold run from him, and Batistuta! Yes! The second half pressure has paid off.
The Bolivian substitute Dimitri Angola sneaked in for one, but Argentina were not to be beaten.
Simeone against the post and in from Balbo.
A better level of performance was expected from Brazil against Peru, but it proved another frustrating 90 minutes, the deadlock broken from the penalty spot.
Zinho scores. Jorginho slips Olivares. A bit more like it. Oh, Edmundo must get it here. He slid it into the corner just about.
Argentina, by contrast, had found top gear, as Chile discovered.
And here's an early chance, and it's going to be 1-0 straight away, and it's that man, Batistuta. What a start for Argentina. It's a lovely pass as well. It's Batistuta who's veered wide. Scorer in the opening couple of minutes, looking to be creator. Balbo and Ayala with a shot. And Argentina have made a storming start to this game. Batistuta now. And the return to Batistuta. And he has his second goal of the game. Batistuta, and he's away. He looked at the flag, there was no flag. It's Batistuta unselfishly across.
It was smiles all round as Brazil prepared to meet Colombia, and with the pressure of qualification off, it was exhibition time.
Away by Edmundo. Juninho to the right, he goes left to Savio, just forces him a little bit wide, but he's on his good left foot. Leonardo! Colombia cut apart, and Brazil have the lead. Juninho. Looking left to Roberto Carlos. Leonardo, Savio, chance for him. Off the bar. And a brilliant finish to make it safe here for Brazil. 2-0, Tulio. Mario Zagallo still calling for more. Oh! Juninho's corner. Higuita left with egg on his face.
The same could be said of the Argentinian coach Daniel Passarella after he made 9 changes to the team to play the United States. A bad result and worse to come.
Jones. A goal! Drilled into the bottom corner to give the Americans the joy that you're seeing expressed here, and in the middle of that huddle, it's Frank Klopas. Ronaldo, come for Kobe Jones. He's done well, and they've got another one, and it's Alexei Lalas cropping up at the near post. 2-0 to the United States. Ball by Ramos to good effect. To Ronaldo. Moore's there. Oh, Ronaldo must score! Smash and grab in the second half for the United States, and they lead by 3-0.
And the third goal meant that Argentina would not win the group. So ahead of schedule, they now meet Brazil in Rivera. Match betting for this one. Brazil, even money. The draw, 11-5, and Argentina, 9-4. Second favourites of 2. But try separating these teams in any historical perspective. What a prospect for our commentary team, Trevor Francis and Martin Tyler.
The defending South American champions against the reigning world champions. Argentina here trying to stop Brazil in their tracks for a third Copa America in a row. Well, this is a rivalry which runs very deep indeed. Mario Zagallo, certainly like everyone else, very surprised at Argentina's failure against the United States. He's had 3 days to sharpen his strategies against the old enemy. He's decided to stick with the side which outclassed Colombia, keeping faith in particular with Andre Cruz in the centre of defence and Leonardo in midfield. Brazil have improved with each group outing. 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. But now they face Gabriel Batistuta, and Argentina, stung by what the United States did to them. The first time Daniel Passarella has a managerial matchup against Brazil. He's reverted to the side which put 4 goals past Chile, with one notable exception. The captain in that game, Ayala, is dropped. He made the mistake, also which cost Argentina their 3rd goal against the United States and their place at the head of the group. So Nestor Fabri partners Cáceres in the centre of defence. It's a very, very chilly night. Temperatures close to freezing point. But there's a fantastic feeling in the stadium. And sharing the anticipation, Trevor Francis.
Yes, on how many occasions have we said in major tournaments that this game would probably be the one for the final? Well, it certainly applies tonight. The 2 strongest teams in the tournament have come together much earlier than we anticipated, and it really is an intriguing clash. On one side, you've got probably the best 2 front players in the competition in Balbo and Batistuta, but they'll be up against the most formidable defence, a Brazilian defence that hasn't conceded a goal up to now, It really does make for a great match.
The referee is always an important figure when Brazil take on Argentina. It's a Peruvian tonight, Alberto Tejada. Well, Argentina looked powerful at the start of their group campaign before Passarella's second string were shocked by the United States. He's been brushing aside the criticism he's had here and back in Argentina itself, saying that Argentina didn't deserve to lose. Well, the pressure is very much on his regulars to show that they benefited from the rest they were given. Taparel and Cristante, the two goalkeepers of very differing experience. A year ago, on July the 17th, of course, that was the day that Brazil were crowned champions of the world. It took a penalty shootout against Italy, and certainly penalty shootouts are very much the system of the moment here in the quarterfinals of the 1995 Copa America. Brazil have played with a terrific togetherness, continuing this extraordinary unbeaten run, 24 games now going back to 1993. They're in sight of the all-time Brazilian record of 29, which was set by the side of the early 70s, including in that run was a World Cup success, of course, as well, when Mario Zagallo was the manager in 1970. But Argentina, one of the few countries in the world who have beaten Brazil more often than Brazil have beaten them, and in the Copa America in particular, they've done excessively well, you might feel, against the Brazilians, who haven't always been represented by their very best side in this South American Championship. Balbo has the captain's armband, and he and Batistuta thrusting forward then. Keep an eye on the early tackles. That one was certainly crisp and fair enough from Estrada. The two teams arrived here very focused on their task. No pre-match interviews given. The players hustled straight into the dressing room. They know the importance. They know the tradition. And they know how deep the feelings are, the divide in a football sense between Brazil and Argentina. Roberto Carlos. Leonardo, a scorer against Colombia when Brazil was superb. Cesar Sampaio with the gloves on, not the only one in that respect, as the temperatures drop. But the heat is on in this quarter-final, and the winners will play the United States of America. Possibly a quick rematch for Argentina. Here's Balbo. Goal! Great start for Argentina. The attacking power they carry has been evident earlier in the competition, and they've shown it here. Brazil's defence punctured for the first time in the competition, and it's Abel Balbo, captain for the night.
Well, it was a great through ball into the path of Balbo. He gets on the end of it, shoots immediately, and it finds its way in the back of the net. It's just the start that Argentina wanted. We spoke about the front two, how dangerous they are. There's that man Balbo that's given the lead.
The goal after 2 minutes, set up by Borelli's pass, drilled home by Balbo. So what of Brazil now? They have to play like world champions if they're going to have a chance of being champions of South America. Savio, the player, brought down. Chance for a quick riposte here. Roberto Carlos. Juninho can't keep it in.
Well, the general feeling before the game was that though Brazil were the favourites, quite rightly so after their recent unbeaten record, the tendency is that in these games it's Argentina who want to win more than what Brazil do. Could it be another upset tonight? I say upset because undoubtedly Brazil are the favourites, but when you've got Balbo and Batistuta in the front pairing, they're always going to cause trouble to any team, and they've already done that tonight.
Simeone trying to spring Balbo again. He's the third different captain that Argentina have used in this competition. And at the moment he's by far the most successful. Ayala has had a torrid time with mistakes and yellow cards. Espina had the job for a while until he was substituted against the United States. Balbo is the oldest player in the team at 29. Juninho with a Brazilian free kick. Edmundo, Leonardo. Shot was interesting, it didn't get far enough. Roberto Carlos! Well, making light of an outrageous angle. With no surprise, it wouldn't have counted. But it was a great strike nonetheless.
Well, we've said on many occasions, haven't we? It doesn't matter what the distance is, it doesn't matter to Carlos. He must have the most powerful shot in world football at this moment, and here he strikes this with great power. Unfortunately, a couple of his teammates have wandered offside.
Batistuta saw the ball roll into his path within range. Well, Brazil, who've never, as we've been stressing throughout the competition, never won the South American title when the competition's been staged outside of Brazil. They're in trouble again here to Batistuta, and it was a whisker away from Balbo.
Well, once again, you saw there the front two causing problems. Batistuta getting in behind Aldair. He really leaves for dead. And the ball just a little bit too firm for Balbo.
Well, we never really see in many games just how good Brazil are as a back four unit, because the team plays so collectively well. It's hard for opponents to really get at the heart of the Brazilian back line, but Argentina are doing it successfully here. And back in the United Kingdom, if you've stayed up especially to see this head-to-head between South American superpowers, I'm sure you're feeling that it's worthwhile already. It's been a sparkling start for the game. Zanetti. Good progress from him, over Batistuta. Comes to Ortega. Zanetti supporting. But he wanted it really to feet rather than just nudged further down the line.
That's got to be a free kick, surely. Carlos has made no attempt to play the ball.
It's the pride of Brazil that, of course, makes them great champions. And that pride has been stung here. Dunga. Fabri, who's replaced Ayala. Oh, it's a calm kick from Cristante. It's only his 5th cap. By far the biggest game of his career. Andre Cruz with the interception. Balbo. Brazil clearly shaken.
Well, it's a great start that Argentina have made. I was very interested to see how they'd approach this game, because it must have had a damaging effect on their morale losing so heavily to the US, but they've started very, very confidently.
It's another shot for Tafarel to deal with from Balbo, never one that was really going to challenge him. But of course, Passarella has been saying, whatever happened against the United States, I wanted my players right for the quarter-final. They have the opportunity to show how fresh they are, given the intense nature of fixture upon fixture in this competition. Brazil with relatively few changes made by Zagallo. Foul by Estrada on Juninho. This is no night for gentle apologies to be accepted. Juninho's angry, Brazil are angry. They're a goal down. That might change here. Roberto Carlos, Edmundo! It has changed. 1-1. And we haven't played 10 minutes yet.
Well, what a fantastic response from Brazil. Good driven ball from Carlos. Edmundo in the right place. Nice little side foot from 6 yards. And there's the equaliser. It's a great ball though, and what a calm finish from Edmundo. So easy. Well, he makes it look easy.
Take that, says Edmundo to Argentina. He's been substituted on a couple of occasions in the group games. He hasn't been happy about it. He's been playing down talk by the Brazilian media that there might be a rift between him and Zagallo. But Zagallo's supporting Edmundo in his selection here, and Edmundo restoring some order for Brazil, and certainly restoring parity on the scoreline. This, as they say, is what it's all about. Two nations for whom international play is such a priority. Fabri can't get away with that.
Well, the referee's right. He's saying that's the third offence. He's not standing for any more, and it goes in the book.
Sure, the stacking up of yellow cards is counted against Ayala, even though suspensions do not accrue in this unusual and some would say foolish system where it's fines and not suspensions for yellow cards. But Fabri now gets a caution of his own. Ayala's replacement, Jorginho. Here's Leonardo. Borelli. Well, it's all-out action, all-out attack when they get the ball from both teams here.
Well, to think only 15 minutes ago in the pre-match discussion, we were discussing the merits of this game and really hoping that we wouldn't see another 0-0. That's the reason why football is such a great game. It's so unpredictable. We've been playing 11 minutes now. It's a fantastic opening, 2 great goals. What more could you ask for?
Juninho. Cesar Sampaio. There have been plenty of times in the past where these rivals have concentrated more on kicking each other than the ball. But the play here is at a bewildering speed. Fabri. Balbo. Giving Argentina the lead. Edmundo equalising. The match 2 years ago finished 1-1, but it was a very different type of contest. It was decided on a penalty shootout, which, thanks to that great penalty saver, the Argentina goalkeeper Goicoechea, Brazil went out. 2 years before that, it was a league, a mini-league to decide the title, in which Argentina won it, Brazil finished second. The crucial game went 3-2 Argentina's way. And of course it was only a year before that, in the World Cup finals, that Brazil was sent packing from Italian 90 by that late Canigia goal in Turin. Passarella again puffing nervously at the cigarette. So Brazil, you might feel, in a major competition, owe Argentina one. Aldair. Borelli, who's been very involved in the creative side of Argentina's play thus far. His first taste of international football in this competition. Batistuta. Just forcing Ortega a little wider than he wanted to go. In went Roberto Carlos, throw taken quickly. Leonardo losing out his challenge on Zanetti. And Argentina from that have a corner.
Good probing there from Zanetti. He's a player that's impressed me very much during this tournament. Just been signed by Inter Milan, of course, and will link up with Paul Ince.
And maybe with Roberto Carlos, news from Inter today that they're going to send their general manager out here to South America to try and sign Roberto Carlos. Obstruction by Simeone, no. Borelli. Chamot. There's no time to play the ball laxly as Chamot did then. Everything has to be crisp and concise here. You just wonder how long they can sustain this pace. It's nervous energy really that's playing a part as well. It's frantic, and it's led to a flow to the game that's an absolute joy to behold at the moment.
Edmundo's come back strongly, hasn't he? Showing good form after a disappointing opening when he missed the penalty against Ecuador. He's now become the top goal scorer for Brazil in this competition. He's done well when you consider the sort of competition he's had to overcome. I really thought that Ronaldo or even Tulio may be playing tonight. Edmundo has justified his place certainly with that opening goal for Brazil.
Well, we've been getting reports from Brazil that he's signed a deal to star in a movie in the Brazilian film industry. Another string to his bow. Well, so far he's starring in this particular movie.
The feeling is that perhaps at times he can be a little bit greedy. Or if he continues to put the ball in the back of the net as regularly as he is at the moment, his teammates are not going to complain.
Chamot for Borelli. Simeone setting off, taking defenders with him. It's a great ball again for Balbo. Simeone was cutting back to the centre. And Brazil may well be complaining to the referee, but they've got to ask some hard questions about their own play defensively.
Well, it was a great ball, but Balbo needed to hit it first time.
Ortega with the corner. Oh, and Taffarel was thinking about what he was going to do with the ball before he'd actually claimed it. Dunga, who was talking in relaxed fashion yesterday, saying, well, we'll have to play Argentina somewhere along the way. We might as well play them in the quarter-final. He might not have been thinking that after a couple of minutes when Brazil were a goal down. Borelli, who's played two terrific passes for Balbo. Pressure by Zanetti on Roberto Carlos.
Just referring back to the chance that Bogle had, normally you'd expect a defender in that situation, I think it was Carlos there, just to step up and catch Bogle offside. He elected to run with him, and if you do that, you have to get your tackle in, and he certainly got his tackle in, but I thought he was a bit fortunate, because if Bogle would decide to hit the ball first time with his left foot, could have been the second goal for Argentina.
Savio.
I think that's Fabry again, isn't it?
It is. And the referee gave him a long, hard look. I think he looked first of all just to make sure he knew who it was. And Fabry is wobbling on the tightrope. Deep ball, looking for Edmundo again. Cristante rather clawing at it. Corner. Well, they left it to the goalkeeper, and he did about enough. Corner veering in towards the near post from Leonardo. Brazil, of course, playing their fourth game in a row here in Rivera, comfortably based on the Brazilian border. Argentina really caught on the hop, having to leave Paysandú. Hadn't fixed any accommodation here, but they moved into the hotel vacated by Ecuador. Balbo. Taken on by Estrada. Borelli. Aldair allowing himself the luxury of a look to play it out accurately. Edmundo. Both Edmundo and Savio quite prepared to go into wide positions and work from the outside infield. In contrast, Batistuta prefers to go through the centre.
That's better defending there from Brazil. That's what I was talking about before, Martin. The two central defenders, Cruz and Aldair, just step up and they catch Batistuta in an offside position.
Simeone slipping past Jorginho and then Juninho. Ortega. Couldn't quite lift it over the head of Leonardo. Borelli. Well, he's on the same wavelength as Balbo, isn't he? He's looking for Balbo's runs all the time. That time the Roma striker had straight offside. Borelli rather wins it back. Ortega. Just caught by Juninho on the stretch. Chamot. The Argentinian sporting public, of course, in mourning today the death of a real Argentine hero, the 5 times world motor racing champion Juan Fangio. Taffarel momentarily caught in two minds. And Jorginho reminding us that there's a lot of muscle on the pitch, as well as plenty of class. Aldair. Well, that was a real risk with Batistuta breathing down his neck. Maybe he was unsettled because Batistuta was breathing down his neck. He who hesitates in those circumstances is often lost.
Yes, he was undoubtedly in two minds, and if you're in two minds, you've got to be sure and kick the ball out for a corner. I mean, it's worth keeping your eye on Odair because there was one or two fitness doubts about him before the game. Doesn't seem to be moving that easily, and maybe the problem's a little bit worse than what we anticipated.
Yes, he was tentative in the warm-up here. Coming out with one boot on and one training shoe on. Didn't get there that time. There's a lot about Balbo, of course. Balbo again. Aldair clears effectively up to Edmundo.
Undoubtedly Odair and Cruz are in for a tough night. The movement from Balbo and Batistuta is excellent.
It's a driving run from midfield from Leonardo. He got his chance against Colombia because Zinho was ill and took it, scoring the first goal. Of course, he's no longer competing for the position that Roberto Carlos has really made his own. Leonardo wants to play further forward in midfield, which is where you're seeing him in this Copa America quarter-final. Dunga. Zanetti. Balbo. Cruz, who's a strong left-sided central defender. Edmundo trying to rip away from Chamot. Argentina have always taken the South American Championship very seriously. The same cannot be said for Brazil in bygone tournaments. It was often an invitation event and they declined the invitation, or if they did, they'd send regional representatives rather than the full national side, which explains their relative lack of success compared to Argentina and Uruguay. But it's a mandatory event now, every 2 years, and you just wonder, given what the United States have done in this tournament, whether they'll play it in the States sooner rather than later. Juninho, Edmundo! Cristante blocks with his legs. A Brazil breakaway and Edmundo in the clear for a moment again. Important save by Cristante.
We really are seeing some great football tonight. That was a wonderful dribble from Juninho. He must have gone past three players. Played the ball in behind Chamot into the space for Edmundo. It was a good save from Cristante with his feet to keep the ball out.
Leonardo. Estrada, it's not his first offence either. The referee from Peru. Clamping down and doing his bit to ensure that the fabulous flow to the football continues. Borelli. Zanetti. Not on that occasion providing the best kind of service for Batistuta. very confident ball across from Jorginho to Andre Cruz. And Brazil is still going from that. Now Cáceres is in trouble. It's another yellow card for Argentina. And for the centre-back, Cáceres.
Well, once again, clever play from Carlos. Just puts it through the legs of Cáceres. He pulls him to the floor. You can't get away with that and not expect to get a yellow card.
Roberto Carlos. Andre Cruz settles for the throw. And then receives it from Jorginho.
Cruz was actually waiting at the far post, hoping that Carlos was going to put it there for a header. But he should know better when Carlos has got the ball. There's only one thing on his mind, that's a shot.
There might be something on for Argentina here. Ortega, Batistuta, Gabriel Batistuta. Brazil hang their heads and look at the goalkeeper as to how that got in at the near post. Argentina are back in front, and Gabriel Batistuta holds his arms aloft in triumph.
Well, it must go down as a goalkeeping error. Batistuta hits it hard, he hits it early, with great power, and it goes straight through Tafarel into the back of the net. He's going to look at that a few times, have nightmares about that. Immediately acknowledged his teammates that he was at fault, and quite rightly so, because a goalkeeper of his ability should get his body behind the ball and shouldn't allow that to squirm through into the back of the net.
Well, he was overpowered by the pace of the shot, and Batistuta has restored the lead for Argentina. He's helped himself to his 33rd international goal. He's just one behind Maradona now. Another foul against Fabri, who certainly voiced his discontent. And as we've been saying, he really is the major candidate not to go the distance here. Already booked, and immediately a Brazilian free kick as they look to hit back a second time. Juninho, who scored against England at Wembley with a curling free kick. Curls this one, but not on target.
Whether it's part of Argentina's game plan, I'm not sure, but it's interesting that both goals have come from a similar area. They really have exploited that area between Carlos in the left-back position and Cruz as a central defender. Bobo scored in that situation, and it was Batistuta making a similar type of run in between those two defenders. Ball is played in there, and it's in the back of the net. It's something that I'm sure that Argentina have looked at in previous games with Brazil, and they've certainly exploited it.
And they've got the big hitters up front, Abel Balbo and Gabriel Batistuta. In terms of goal potential, the real heavyweights in this competition, indeed, you'd say, in world football generally. Great pair of attackers to have, and they both come up trumps again here on this big night. Dunga. Andre Cruz, Savio's header.
When you hit shots like that and they find their way into the back of the net, you often feel it's your night. If you remember against the US, Batistuta found himself in similar positions on 2 or 3 occasions. It never even made the keeper. On that occasion, Casey Keller have to make a save. But tonight, he's hit it hard. He's hit it with great power, and it's in the back of the net.
And of course, Gabriel Batistuta has done more than most to bring these back-to-back titles in 91 and 93 for Argentina in this competition. In fact, we first really heard of him as an international force in the 91 tournament, when he scored 6 goals, 3 more in 93.
What does that put him now? One behind Maradona?
Yes.
Fantastic record.
Aldair. Simeone's challenge has hurt Aldair, but the referee has allowed the game to go on. It's been stopped now by the flag. And Brazil did hesitate for just a second when they lost the ball, prior to Argentina springing forward to make it 2-1.
Well, he's lucky to get away with that. I don't like to see that from defenders. Just put their hand up in the air, just pleading with the referee that he's going to blow for offside. But you could see quite clearly there was a bad error of judgment from Sampaio, because the Argentinian forward wasn't offside.
Borelli. Cleverly done again. Well, I don't think half-time is going to be long enough for our studio guests to dissect all that we've seen. And there's still 10 minutes to go before that half-time whistle.
So many good performances out there. I'm impressed with this Argentinian midfield. Dunga's having a torrid time out there. Normally such an influence on this Brazilian side. Not easy for him. He's 31 years of age now, and it's not easy when you're playing regularly as these players are. This is his 4th game in about 10 days. He's finding it very, very hard going tonight against Borelli and Estrada in the centre of that midfield.
Cesar Sampaio. Juninho trying to recapture the rhythm for Brazil. Well, they hit back pretty quickly the first time. Dunga's header. Well, Trevor, you're making the point about Dunga and possible tiredness for Brazil. Mario Zagallo, as he was in the Umbro Cup last month, sticking by and large to the same players for each game. Has Passarella got it right, perhaps?
We'll know that in about an hour's time. If you win, the manager's always right. If Zagallo loses that, I'm sure the critics will say he should have brought Zinho back instead of Leonardo. Perhaps he should have played Tullio. In fact, you can make a case for 2 of them, because they've not been flush with goals, but Zinho has scored. Tullio came on in the last game against Colombia and scored with a fantastic overhead kick, but neither of them are here tonight playing.
The other option, of course, was to recall Ronald Dahl in place of Andre Cruz. Ronald Dahl's had a relatively minor knee injury. Perhaps the other concern defensively is just how fit is Aldair.
You mentioned Juan O'Dowd, he's another goal scorer. They've only scored 7 goals, of which one of them was an own goal from Magita. And 3 of those players, Juan O'Dowd, Zinho and Tulio, have scored but aren't playing tonight. So you just worry that there's a lot resting on Edmundo's shoulders.
Simeone, flicked away by Andre Cruz, not very far, helped on by Leonardo. Borelli, more defending for Brazil to do. Jorginho did it instantly. Yes, you say an own goal by Higuita, and the Copa America authorities have recorded it as that, but Brazil have officially given it to Juninho, who took the corner, with the comment that a lot of Brazilian players do try to score direct from corners, and it's something that's happened before with the goalkeeper just getting a passing touch. It was a bit more than that, but anyway, it's Jorginho's in Brazilian records. And here's Juninho again, claiming he was just nudged at the crucial moment. The protests disappeared almost as quickly as they arrived. Brazil worried now about the capacity on the counter-attack of Argentina. Worry of some justification too. Chamot was well forward that time. 5 minutes to go to half-time. And to be fair to the players, they deserve the break, but you just don't want it to end. It's such a spectacular contest here.
Well, that's about the first time that Fabri's made a challenge and not committed a foul. And it didn't take place there either. It was on the dead ball line.
The referee coping with the spirit rather than the letter of the law. And he's done his bit to help the way the game is shaped up here. But there's no doubt the tackles continue to come in. Not always well judged. Simeone, the culprit this time.
But he's done a good job tonight, Simeone. It's not a position that he plays regularly. More suited, just leave it there.
Because it's Andre Cruz trying to swerve one past Cristante. Edmundo acting as ball boy.
No, just making the point that Simeone is doing a good job for his manager, Passarella. Normally suited to playing on the right-hand side. He's been put there tonight for one reason, and that's to stop the forward thrust of Jorginho. We've been playing now 41 minutes, and we've hardly seen Jorginho from an attacking point of view.
Daniel Passarella, who's had some pretty difficult headlines to deal with after the collapse against the United States, when he made 9 changes. Batistuta did play because of his desire to finish the tournament as the top goal scorer. He's taken his tally to 4, along with the Mexican Luis Garcia. Mexico, of course, now out. Andre Cruz. Leonardo, Andre Cruz coming forward again. Tripped by Borelli, he gets booked. Well, they're defending with more desperation than Brazil are if you judge it by yellow cards, but they're attacking with great verve. Batistuta wanted too long, Juninho nicked it from him. Edmundo. Oh, Fabri hesitated for a moment. It looked as though Edmundo would be past him, but there was help on hand.
Wrong decision, wasn't it, from Edmundo? Ball was played into space. He had to hook it in early. Delayed it, tried to beat Fabry. Came off second best.
Cesar Sampaio right into the back of Balbo, but getting the ball at the same time. Batistuta, that's a great turn past Andre Cruz. Ortega trying to get it in early, which wasn't a bad idea.
That's the type of ball I was talking about before that Edmundo should have played. It's what all forwards need. They don't want players delaying. It needs to come in as early as possible to give them a chance.
Jorginho nudging it on for Savio, and he's sent tumbling by Estrada. It's his second yellow card, and Argentina are down to 10 men. Estrada sent off right on half-time, and you could see it coming, and the referee losing patience here. Unnecessary, close to the touchline, he's off.
I think we should applaud the referee, because I think he's done an excellent game in this first half. They've just pushed their luck a little bit too far with him, and that was the correct decision again. It was a clumsy tackle, and if you make those kind of tackles, Martin, you have to go.
Well, you could forgive him perhaps if it was in a goal-scoring situation where he might have been asked the question of whether he was going to prevent a Brazilian equaliser. But out there, knowing that he had been booked earlier, but what a half it has been here in Rivera. It's been a real privilege to bring it to you. Argentina, the first side to score against Brazil in the competition, and they've done it twice. Borelli making the first goal for Balbo after 2 minutes. The equaliser in the 10th minute from Edmundo. The Argentinians protesting about the sending off. But Batistuta with a mistake by Tafarel, restoring Argentina's advantage. They lead on the scoreline. Numerically, they're behind 10 against 11 for the second half, and I can't wait for it to start.
And neither can we. Thanks very much for now to Trevor Francis and Martin Tyler. Shame it has to stop there, but the players probably deserve the short break. Phil Thompson and Mark Lawrenson when we come back. A half of high quality and high drama in Rivera, and it's all to play for here between Brazil and Argentina. Argentina have scored twice in the first half, once for Brazil. And just to remind you that this, by our reckoning, is the first time that Brazil have conceded 2 goals in any match since the World Cup quarter-final last year against Holland. More on that in a moment. 12 shots in the game so far, 6 apiece, 2 on target for Brazil, 3 on target for Argentina, and only 3 corners in the match, 2 for Argentina. Argentina have been caught offside 5 times to just 1 for Brazil, 24 fouls in the first half, the majority committed by Argentina. 4 men booked, all Argentinian players, but the important sending off is of Estrada of Argentina in the first half. We promised you something special, and I'm delighted to say that it's proving that way, isn't it, Mark? These guys have been jumping up and down here in the studio.
It's had everything, Paul, hasn't it? It's had, great play, great skill, great goals, mistakes, good refereeing. But I think the biggest thing of all, and something we've not seen in a lot of the games, it's had passion. You could feel it as soon as the teams came out. The tackles are flying in. It's a proper football game, something that we're used to, and it's high quality. It's great.
Phil?
I think looking at Argentina, after the criticism that they've probably taken, okay, 9 of the players are different, but I think the whole squad has come under heavy criticism. They've came out, They know they're playing against Brazil, the world champions, and it's been like that right from the start. And you could feel it from the crowd.
Yes.
The crowd were going with every challenge, with every effort at goal. It was magnificent
Let's
stuff.
have a look at the... well, we're going to try and pack in as much as we can of this in the next 10 minutes or so.
Need an hour.
This is the early goal. 3 minutes in. What a start for Argentina, Phil.
I thought it was a magnificent ball. And I think he's took it so early that the goalkeeper's not had a chance to see it. Balbo's hit it really, really well. Don't know whether it's gone through him or not. At first we thought it was Batistuta who's given him the pass.
In fact, it was Borelli, yes.
Yeah, but he's in the middle of the goal. But Balbo was on his way. As the ball was on its way, he knew where the pass was going to do. And with the pass going so early, he's caught Brazil's defence unawares, and it was a tremendous strike. Tremendous strike
as well.
I did ask you, just for something we'll come to in a moment, I did ask you there about the goalkeeping. We'll come back to that in just a minute or two, Mark, because there's one or two other things we're going to have to try and squeeze in. 5 minutes in here, and they had them rocking at the back. Brazil actually looked in trouble. That was the first goal they've conceded in the Copa America, but there could have been others in the first half.
Well, most definitely. I mean, they were put under pressure, which is something we hadn't seen in, what is it, only the time they've conceded 2 goals, that's in over a year, so shows you. But Argentina really got the bit between the teeth, and they've just gone for the jugular, and that's what's making it a great game.
But Brazil aren't world champions for nothing. It was 1-1 before the 10th minute. Edmundo.
Well, I mean, the cross makes this goal, Paul. It's absolutely fantastic. It's just a golden invite, wasn't it, to Edmundo? Stick your foot on that. I mean, it's a great finish, as Trevor points out, but what a fantastic ball that is, because it's just a matter of redirecting the pace of the cross, wasn't it? The goalkeeper had absolutely no chance. And what a reply. It was just sheer quality.
It was a similar goal what we've seen in the Umbro Cup, Brazil against Sweden. Same combination. Roberto Carlos going down the left, and he's put it in. And although it does look quite easy, I think he's just turned his foot as the balls came in, and he's just put it to the side. Magnificent goal. Tremendous goal.
The chances kept coming, didn't they, through the first half? And Borelli, who's been such an important link man for Argentina, almost provides a delightful touch here.
Well, it was a great ball as well, wasn't it? And but then again, the man was on his way, making the run. Good play by Brazil. They're just, they're making it so difficult. But that's been also a feature of the game, Paul, is that, no one's, as soon as somebody's got the ball, there are people moving all over the shot. But Batistuta on his own, up front at times, is making bad balls into good ones, And you're talking about possibly the best striker in the world at the moment, working so hard.
Phil, you watched Brazil through the Umbro Cup and the likes of Roberto. You were drooling over Roberto Carlos after that, but you've seen him had to defend tonight in this first half.
Yeah, I've seen it against England as well. OK, we know they beat England 3-1, and people were saying, but I think England gave Brazil a real test, and we've seen the players like Roberto Carlos, because we've seen him going forward, flowing football and everything, getting up there, having these magnificent shots, but I wanted to see him defend, and against England I've seen his defensive qualities, and I've seen it again tonight. OK, sometimes he can get caught out, but I think he's such an intelligent player. He doesn't go too early in games. 20 minutes, he sits there on the left-hand side. As the game goes on, then he pushes on. But we've seen again tonight, because Argentina have really set them up.
I just think maybe that Passarella sat his players down and said, about this Roberto Carlos fella. Great going forward, but he does leave a little hole in there. And, both goals have come from that little inside right for Argentina, kind of left-back slot for Brazil. It
would seem to be a safe bet that Janino's name cropped up in the Passarella team meeting as well.
Yeah, I mean, we were off our seats, weren't we? If it wasn't for the fact we're tied down by the mics, Paul, we'd have been standing and cheering. This is fantastic play, and what a great ball as well on the end of it. And, good credit to the Argentinian goalkeeper, Cristante. It's a good save. It doesn't matter how you save him, if you save him with your backside, as long as they stay out. And it was a crucial save at that time.
I think the defender as well,
just leaned on him, didn't he?
Just leaned on him enough, because he knew he couldn't get his tackle in. So he just leaned on him enough, and Edmundo couldn't get a shot in at all.
Good keeping from Cristante, but now to the other big question of the half, the keeping of Tafarel for the second goal.
Well, I think we've always said Brazil, tremendous players, they have been a team we all take our hats off to, but the goalkeepers have always been found wanting. No matter right throughout the ages of great Brazilian teams, they've never been able to come up with a great goalkeeper, and I think that's gone right underneath his arm there.
He put his hand up, didn't he? But again, the left back, just got caught on the half turn. The goalkeeper's got to save that, hasn't he? And he did stick his hand up to Tafarel and said, yeah, sorry, my mistake.
But the power of Batistuta was there, certainly, and Argentina have the call at half-time, but so much more to come, and the thoughts of our two guests on the sending off when we come back in just a minute or two. It's absolutely in the melting pot in Rivera. Argentina in front 2-1 at half-time. They lead Brazil in the Copa America quarter-final. Gabriel Batistuta on the half hour, extending Argentina's lead there. That's his 13th goal in 16 Copa America matches. So they've certainly got the firepower, but they're going to have to live in the second half with just 10 men on the stroke of half-time. Ayala sent off. This is a second yellow card offence, and the foul on Savio is the last part Ayala plays in the drama, and it has been dramatic. Hope very much you're enjoying it. Will they hold on, Phil, with 10 men, Argentina? Can they?
I think the way they're playing, I think, yeah, they'll understand. I think they'll have to drop one of them off. I think it's Balboa. I think he'll probably drop back. But it's going to be very, very difficult for them because, like, they've been tested, Brazil. Now we're really going to see what they can do, how they can open them up. And I think with Jorginho on one side, Roberto Carlos, they're going to really stretch the back four to make spaces for Savio and Edmundo through the middle.
Now, that sending off of Estrada, Mark, was it justified in your opinion?
Yeah. And I think Trevor called it, didn't he, doing the commentary? Most definitely, Paul. And it's daft, you know, because it came just before half-time. Your team were winning 2-1 against all the odds, or so we would be led to believe before the game. I'm sure Passarella's had a few words in his ear. Estrada, yeah, definitely worth the sending off the referee. The referee's been great. He's certainly been on his toes, and virtually every decision he's made has been the right decision.
Did you feel that somebody was going to get sent off at some stage?
We said before the game, didn't we? And I think it was it in '93? There was 5 sent off in the game we showed last night, and it's on the cards, isn't it? Because it's been the first game we've had with real passion, and it's to be expected, and certainly the way that the games are refereed now anyway, and it's not too difficult to get 2 yellows, is it?
Phil, is that it then? Do you think that's going to?
I think the longer the game goes on, if it's still 2-1 for Argentina, I think there might be a few tackles flying about. In that last 10 minutes, I think it'll be hell for leather.
I think the boys in net, he made 2 fouls early on. The referee gave him a warning. He booked him at his next one, and he's hardly made a legitimate tackle so far. He's going to have to be very, very careful, the boy at the back for Argentina.
How can Brazil exploit the absence of Estrada now, Phil?
Well, as I say, I think they've got to. I think Balboa will maybe drop off, or Batistuta, one of them. I think the way Batistuta, to be fair, he's showing tonight what an all-round player he is. We've seen this great striker playing up front, getting on the end of things, but he's dropped back and he's really worked hard. He showed a good touch, good awareness. He could maybe swap over with Balboa. But I think Brazil have now got to try and keep the width, keep them stretched, and then get through them with the play. And Juninho, with a player like him in midfield, I think they're going to create quite a few things.
Do you see them getting a goal, Mark?
Brazil?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. And, you know, I think as Phil says, the way that 11 are going to beat 10 is by getting lots of width, not having too many touches of the ball, and you've got to work the opposition. I just feel Argentina have given absolutely everything in the first 45 minutes. You feel as though there's more to come from Brazil. And numerically, obviously, they're in the ascendancy, aren't they?
With so many options on the bench as well, when does it come to the point for Zagallo, the Brazilian coach, Phil, that he says, I just need some fresh inspiration out there?
I would think if he's going to make a change, Savio, not seen enough of him. I think he might make a change with him with Tulio. I do. I think that might be the change, just to throw it about a little bit, just to get Argentina thinking again.
I think it's also important from Argentina's point of view, Paul, that they might make some substitutions because, you know, you're talking about running out of legs because of the way they've played, because they're going to have to work extra hard in the second half because they're down to 10 men, so the substitutions they will have to make will be very important.
Thanks to Mark and to Phil. First semi-final of the Copa America, Colombia against Uruguay. We've seen the United States reaching the second semi-final, but will it be Brazil or Argentina that they meet there? Don't forget, both semi-finals will be live on Sky Sports, but we've got some issues outstanding at the quarter-final stage here. And exactly a year on from Brazil's World Cup triumph, can they wrest the Copa America from Argentina's grip? Let's go back to Trevor Francis and Martin Tyler.
Thank you, Paul. Well, Daniel Passarella has lost a holding midfield player in Estrada with that sending off right on half-time. And he's replaced him with Perez, positionally, who's the logical candidate from the substitutes to come on. He's the number 5, and Ortega has had to be sacrificed. Away we go for the second half. The 11 of Brazil against the 10 of Argentina, who lead by 2-1. Dunga. Juninho. Leaving Perez. Zanetti was able to knock it away just. Well, Argentina, you feel, might have to forfeit a share of possession here, but they still retain the big two up front, who split the goals between them here. Cesar Sampaio. Edmundo's touch was a beautiful one. Juninho. Savio. Well, Brazil, as you would expect, starting the second half, meaning business.
Well, that was great interplay, wasn't it, from Juninho and Savio. All of Juninho's work is in around the penalty box, and he's such a danger when he goes into the box. Just overruns it slightly.
There's a little nudge by Edmundo, he won't get away with that. Well, Brazil, with typical efficiency, have already made their reservations in Maldonado in preparation for a semi-final that they're some way away from reaching at the moment. They've been making noises that they would like to play it here. Been their base, so close for their fans. They have come from all over Brazil for this one, primarily for the group games from the nearby southern areas. Simeone joins the list of Argentina bookings. Cáceres, Fabri and Borelli, and now Simeone, of players on the pitch, carry the burden of one yellow card. Dunga clapping his hands, the archetypal captain. The Brazilian fans back Roberto Carlos. But he can't respond this time to that backing.
Well, no team likes to play with 10 men, but it may not have the effect that you think it will have, because obviously it's a loss to be without Estrada, but the reason why I say that is because Brazil, they play with Sampaio just in front of the back four as a shielding player, in front of the middle two there, Aldair and Cruz. He never really gets involved in any build-up play. We tend to sort of miss him out and concentrate on getting the ball to Dunga and Juninho. So perhaps because of this, it may not be such a big loss.
Savio. Mario Zagallo's predecessor as Brazilian national coach, Carlos Alberto Pereira, believes that one way to make football even more attractive is to make it a 10-a-side game, but there is natural space to use. The Brazilians, of course, have kept out of trouble. They're well ahead in the Fair Play League. Kept out of trouble basically not just in this game, but in the group matches as well. They've only picked up a couple of bookings.
I would have thought at half-time that Zagallo would have made a change and taken off Sampaio, because really what he's trying to do, what he's been doing in the first half, is shooting the back four, but really I think in the second half you've got Batistuta and Balbo. They're going to be isolated. They're not going to get the support they did in the first half.
Edmundo. Here's Aldair with license to come forward. But you do feel that they haven't got the physical presence in the penalty area for that type of fight for it cross, when it comes in more precisely as it was when Edmundo scored Brazil's goal here. Well, of course they've got the touch and the movement, but they want the big men up from the back at a corner, although it goes short to Jorginho. Back to Leonardo, comes for Cesar Sampaio. Tried to steer it into the top corner. Well, he was forward, Trevor.
Well, that's the first time he's got forward in the game, and he almost made me eat my words there.
Well, he could do it because Argentina had pulled everyone back.
They tend to go for that placement, don't they? That's what Leonardo did against Colombia. Rather than blast it, a little side foot, almost placing it. Just gets a little bit too much height on it. He knew where he wanted to put it.
Argentina still lead. Daniel Passarella nervously moving about in the technical area there in front of Argentina's dugout, yelling and berating when he can when players within earshot. It's difficult for them to hear. Certain games earlier in the competition you could pick out every word. Edmundo trying the dummy then. Cáceres, Balbo. The best piece of defensive play from Cesar Sampaio. And we'll look at the firmness in the eyes of the referee again, who's been right up with play. Juninho, straight onto the head of Fabri. It was painful for Jorginho from Simeone, who was booked earlier in the half. Cesar Sampaio. Just a little bit of impeding there, Zanetti, by Roberto Carlos. Again the referee right on the spot to recognise it. Alberto Tejada from Peru. It was a considerable honour to be chosen to officiate this match, given the status of the contest. Maybe in some ways a doubtful honour given some of the previous meetings between the countries and the number of red cards. Batistuta. Tafarel's taken a lot of steps there. Leonardo. Savio. Now Dunga. Juninho has Jorginho going outside him. Leonardo with the juggling. Edmundo and the Argentinian defenders there, you feel, were pretty relieved that the flag went up.
Well, once again, it must have been very tight. But I think the linesman's got it right. Two of them there, the two front runners, Savio and Edmundo, both in an offside position.
Andre Cruz too strong for Balbo. Zanetti. Here's Borelli, who's on the same wavelength with Balbo. Batistuta. Well, Brazil was suddenly opened up through the centre, right from Borelli picking the ball up. And Tafarel had to be very quick off his line to cut that one out.
Yes, it was good alert keeping from Tafarel. Great ball from Balbo, splits the two centre halves. Batistuta's through. But he's alive to the situation, he's Tafarel.
He was a bit worried about where the kick was going to end up as it struck Batistuta though. Roberto Carlos. Leonardo trying to get it across the face of the goal quickly and couldn't quite wrap his foot around it. We've had almost 10 minutes in the second half and the 10 men of Argentina retain their 2-1 advantage. If you talk to any Brazilian fan, they'll tell you that there's just something about the attitude of Argentinian footballers that makes their hairs on the back of their neck bristle. They feel they're a bit arrogant. It all leads to the desire for victory to be at its greatest when the two countries meet. I'm sure the Argentines in their turn will say that the Brazilians have a superiority complex with their World Cup successes.
Well, they certainly play a good pressing game. I've said on many occasions that I've never seen an Argentinian side work as hard as this one. Except, of course, in the last match against the US when they were missing so many players. But a feature of this game tonight is the pressing. They work so hard for one another.
Batistuta, who's happy to shoot from anywhere, but even with the sting he carries in that right foot, it would have to have been something extra special from here. But he's bettered Taffarel from an acute angle from one side. Why not try from the other? But is that going to be the deciding goal? Brazil trying to drag defenders out of position, patiently moving the ball if they can to the full width of the pitch. Simeone filling in there. They're going to leave Batistuta and Balbo upfield, and the rest will get behind the ball, and even Batistuta prepared to do that here.
I personally don't think that Brazil have got enough players in attacking areas, Martin.
Leonardo. Roberto Carlos.
You know, I feel they rely so much on the front two, and Janino coming from just in behind. I mean, Dunga doesn't get anywhere near the box. Leonardo, just leave it there.
Roberto Carlos got round the back. And that would have been a story, wouldn't it, if Janino had risen at the far post amongst the defenders and headed the equaliser?
Well, at least he wants to get in the box, doesn't he? It's a good cross from Carlos. You don't expect Janino to out-jump 6-foot defenders, but he gets up well for a small fella. But I'd like to see one or two others get in the box. Leonardo has played most of his football at full-back, although in the Japanese league with Kashima he's been playing as a striker, I believe. But he's not what you call an outstanding goal scorer. I think that Zagallo now, we're approaching the hour, he certainly has to think about bringing on another forward.
And you'd like to see maybe Aldair, when the ball goes wide, taking a chance and charging into the box a la Alexei Lalas. That's if you're a Brazilian. Oh, Roberto Carlos took that beautifully, got past one, but not past Cáceres, who was a real hero with that tackle then for Argentina. Juninho. They lengthened the game, Brazil then, almost to devastating effect. Roberto Carlos putting it into an area where possibly they haven't got anyone to really come flying in and go for the headers, and maybe Tulio is that man as he waits for the call from the bench.
Yeah, you watch this as the cross comes in from Carlos. Granted, it's too near the keeper, but really, you see Janino on the edge of the box, Savio just inside the box. It's only real Edmundo there who goes anywhere near the keeper.
Andre Cruz having to sprint. Aldair, the world champions, are 2-1 down with just over half an hour to go to the defending South American champions, who are looking for a hat-trick of titles. Leonardo. Roberto Carlos. Well, whether it was a slice, whatever, it was a wasted opportunity from a wide position to get a decent ball in. And off goes a midfield man, Leonardo, and on comes an extra forward in Tulio. Maybe Savio will play a little bit deeper. And Daniel Passarella has reacted, and he's going to make a change of his own. No foul. Cáceres on Savio. Jorginho. Aldair striding forward. Possibilities for Brazil here. Roberto Carlos. Rather straightforward cross. It was dealt in a straightforward manner, and that's the goalkeeper's.
Well, I think Cristante, they expected his defenders to attack the ball. They all left it. Could have been an embarrassing moment for the goalkeeper.
Well, this is something of a gamble. Batistuta is being taken off for a defender, Ayala. Now maybe there's an injury that we haven't really been able to detect, but given the significant positional switch, one leans towards the fact that Passarella is going to decide here to sweat it through, stick it through and say, well, we may not need another goal.
Well, whatever you want to say about Passarella, certainly got courage. Take off probably the best goal scorer in the competition.
Yes, if it backfires on him from here, after what happened in the last game, it'll take a long, long time for the criticism to die down. Juninho. Cáceres with a header, it's not totally cleared the danger. Roberto Carlos going on. Back for Dunga. Argentina. Funneled back. Aldair. With a real hit and hope.
Yes, Argentina won't mind if they can limit Brazil to shooting from that sort of distance. But you do feel that the pressure is mounting on them. They've decided they're going to get more and more men behind the ball, with Batistuta coming off the field.
Zanetti. Andre Cruz, pressed by Borelli. Zanetti got in, it breaks for Balbo.
That was a good example of the pressing I'm on about. You saw Cruz there just stumbling with the ball. Immediately, 3 Argentinian defenders pounced on him. That's what you call good team spirit and good collective play.
Well, he was always a forceful figure as a player, Daniel Passarella. And he's looking to forge a name for himself here in international management. Borelli takes a free kick that Brazil weren't happy about. Ayala right in there. Well, as soon as Simeone hit the ground, he was bouncing up to chase back. They've got to maintain the work rate. And to that extent, the fact that the majority of the side weren't in the starting lineup against the United States is in their favour. Tulio. Well, they won't mind the stop and starts here, Argentina, to interrupt the flow that Brazil are trying to achieve. You can see that Tulio caught Simeone. Well, the sending off has meant that it's a different type of contest here in the second half, but in its own way it's just as compelling to see whether Brazil have the firepower here to pull this quarter-final out of the fire. Dunga. Here's Aldair. Jorginho calling players towards him. Look at the players that Argentina got around Juninho. Nicely done by Barelli. Zanetti, great recovery by Dunga. Handball by Barelli, who has been booked. Dunga. You expect Brazil to have plenty of the ball. But what they're doing with it to this point, well, it hasn't given Argentina wholesale problems. Edmundo trying again from the right-hand side, as he likes to do. Jorginho. Cesar Sampaio. Ploughing on. Roberto Carlos. Well, they look at the linesman. Tulio was the player who had the opportunity to score and didn't take it.
Well, this is an amazing miss, isn't it? And I can't really see how he's offside.
Well, they were appealing for offside maybe more on the first ball for Roberto Carlos, but the referee gave the linesman a thumbs up. And look at the reaction there from Cesar Sampaio as he realised the chance was missed. His head down to the ground. Well, there have been many times in the past when Brazil have taken this tournament lightly and gone out of it without a fight. They're certainly fighting here, but they might still go out. Argentina trying to put up the shutters. Andre Cruz. Passarella needs heroes out there in blue and white striped shirts. Savio withdrawn into a deeper role as Leonardo was taken off to facilitate the arrival of Tulio. Aldair. Back go Argentina again. Dunga. Savio. Close down Roberto Carlos in a pack again. Brazil need to be able to retain the patience in their approach, not panic, and retain some defensive concentration as well. Simeone's got Balbo with him. A breakout by Argentina here. And given the weakness that Taffarel has shown on the near post, maybe that was in Balbo's mind. He was considerably off target in his attempt to squeeze it into that area here.
Well, it all started from awful defending from Aldair. Simeone had overrun the ball. Aldair should have just taken the ball away, far too casual. Allowed Simeone to go through, and they were faced then Brazil with a 2-on-1 situation.
Chamot. Barelli. Chamot kept going. It's a brilliant breakout by Argentina. And Aldair, that time, was spot on, and he really needed to be number 3 on the other.
Well, that looked like curtains, didn't it, for Brazil? Because when Chamot went through, you fancy him to score. Just delayed it to allow Aldair to get the block tackle in.
And you feel Argentina have got to do a little bit of this to stop it being a constant siege. Savio. Edmundo couldn't knock it straight away back across the face of goal. Has the chance to do it now. Roberto Carlos. Now Cesar Sampaio. Dunga. Aldair has a crack. Argentina will feel if they keep coming from there, even from Brazil, the chances are they'll see it through.
Yes, once again it's from distance. Aldair fancies his luck. It's his second shot in this half, but doesn't trouble Cristante. We've been playing now 25 minutes in the second half. I can remember one decent chance of Brazil.
Maybe another one here. Savio!
Well, that's the second. The first was to Tullio. This to Savio. He flashes it out of his own making. Goes past the defender, hits him with his left foot, but it's always rising. Not a problem for Cristante.
Brazil looking for an equaliser for the second time in the game. If it finishes level after 90 minutes, no extra time, remember, it would go to a penalty shootout. By which method Colombia have already overcome Paraguay. And today, the United States have knocked out Mexico following the first goalless draw in the tournament.
But once again, that's another example of poor defending. Brazil have got 4 players back. Balbo's up front by himself. They allow him a free header, and then they don't even challenge the second ball. He's gone to retrieve it to keep possession.
Well, we've heard all about Passarella's belief in changing the diet of the Argentine players to improve their fitness. If that's a factor, it's certainly working, because they're still pressing and working and competing in all the right areas. And Brazil, despite the extra man, is still looking down the tunnel of defeat. Savio. Play on, the message from the referee, who was right there again to allow Fabri to get away with a challenge. Juninho. Edmundo. Dunga decides it's time for him to have a crack. Borelli, Zanetti, accelerating athletically, helped by Borelli. The ball on to Simeone on the left, but for the first time, just a slight sign of fatigue. And back come Brazil once more. Well, now they're going to look for another forward, maybe like for like, possibly Acosta straight for Balbo. Edmundo. Oh, Ayala, who's made some mistakes in this tournament. Cost him his place in the starting lineup tonight. It's only a young defender, though. Hooks off Zanetti's head. Roberto Carlos. Juninho. Edmundo. Juninho! Well, there were those behind Cristante covering on the line. Juninho couldn't take it first time, which is possibly his best chance.
No, it was clever play from Edmundo. Lovely little chip over the back of the Argentinian defence. Here his control lets him down, and he's forced to try and get a cross in. The keeper saves.
Argentina defending the corner at the near post. Brazil have scored from a couple of corners in the tournament. Of course, Juninho embarrassed Higuita, but not Cristante then, and in any case the referee had spotted some jostling in there, and the whistle had gone. Acosta played in the 93 final.
Well, here you see the corner, and Well, I can't see too much wrong with that. A little bit of time wasting here, I think.
And the referee
Sent Passarella off.
has told Passarella at least to get back to where he belongs, but maybe more than that. But Balbo has come off for Acosta. Acosta with an immediate involvement. Well, he's fallen on the ball here. So Passarella has to go. So Argentina have lost a player, and now they've lost the brains behind it all. Daniel Passarella. Will that leave the team rudderless as they move heroically towards a victory here? Acosta. Chamot is supporting him.
Well, that was a great run from Chamot, wasn't it? He must have gone in between 3 or 4 Brazilian attempts at trying to tackle. I mean, some of the tackling from the Brazilians leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, if you look at the two teams, in terms of desire and determination and aggressiveness, Argentina are streets ahead of the Brazilians tonight. It's not pretty to watch, it's a rear-guard action, but they certainly deserve to get something from this game, I feel, Argentina, for the effort they've put into it.
And of course it was pretty to watch when they were playing with 11 men.
Yes, you know, when Estrada got sent off, it really spoiled the game as a spectacle, because it was one of the great first half we've seen this tournament.
Well, you do feel another flashpoint isn't too far away here.
Well, Argentina have got to make sure now they keep the 10 men. They don't want any more sent off, because with 10 men, as I thought would happen, they've rather coped reasonably well with the Brazilian attacks. But if they were to lose another man, I think then the handicap would be far too great.
Oh, the decision is a free kick to Argentina. Pirelli takes it. Simeone has shown a willingness to attack the set pieces.
I would think Passarella's absolutely delighted that his counterpart Zagallo has decided to play continually in the second half with Cruz, Aldair and Sampaio in central defensive areas. Because basically they've only had one player up front.
Well, he's certainly one of the stars of the show here tonight. A supremely alert referee, Alberto Tejada. Peru, the team, went out in the group phase, but they're represented well here by the remaining referee, Juninho. Oh, it's come back his way. But you still feel it's got to be particularly precise for Brazil, as it was when Edmundo...
Well, what they're clearly lacking, Martin, is a player with great power, a 6-footer up front. That's what they're lacking.
Too much bend on that corner.
You know, there are times like this when you've got pressure on the team, you've got them penned in, you just want to put a ball in and fight for it in the box. They can't do that. They don't have that type of player. It's got to be a precise build-up, and it's got to be the perfect goal. We saw that in the first half. Great play from Leonardo, who gave it to Carlos. Cross ball, and there was Edmundo for the goal. That was the perfect goal. And that's what they're looking for now, and it may not happen.
Zanetti. Well, with the energy of youth and the desire of youth, some might say overcommitting himself there, he might learn a bit more about being back in his own half in these circumstances. A little more space for Brazil to utilise here. Jorginho's cross. Tullio takes it down. Tullio!
Surely
they
it
claim
was handball.
A controversial equaliser from Brazil with 10 minutes to go. Arm out, handball.
Well, most definitely it's handball, but I think if you look closely, he's also offside as the cross comes over from Jorginho.
Well, Argentina are devastated by this, with some justification. Having said that, Tullio played to the whistle, didn't hear one, kept going, and actually lifted it expertly and adroitly over Cristante.
Well, it's the most blatant handball you'll ever see. And how ironic that the referee's had an excellent game tonight, hardly put a foot wrong. When he needs to get it right, the most important decision probably of the evening, he gets it wrong.
Well, there'll be English viewers who'll be saying, well, it's about time Argentina had a handball against them. When you go back 9 years to a World Cup quarter-final and a certain Diego Maradona, might take a while in international football for things to even themselves out. But that's a blatant injustice, just as it was at England's expense in Mexico City all those years ago.
Martin, quite clearly both were handballs, Maradona and there Tullio. But I think the Tullio one was even more blatant than Maradona's.
Yes, I'd agree with you. And here's Savio. And how will Argentina withstand this? Acosta. Cross came Cesar Sampaio. And a rarity in this tournament, a yellow card for a Brazilian player.
Yes, no complaints there. Little body check. Sampaio becomes the first Brazilian to win the book, I believe, tonight.
Yes. Zanetti. Here's Acosta. No Batistuta now, no Balbo.
No, I'm just thinking Tullio, it's the second time now he's come off the bench in successive games. Did it, scored the second goal against Colombia to secure the win. And he's brought Brazil back into the game tonight when it looked as if they're maybe running out of ideas and certainly running out of time.
But they weren't running out of luck. Roberto Carlos. Well, it has been, strangely for a Copa America, a tournament really until tonight without a major controversy. We've got one now. Cáceres, they've got to keep their concentration here, Argentina. Roberto Carlos, oh, that looked bound for the back of the net.
That was a great block from Fabri. There's only one place that was heading for, and that was the back of the net. Cristante wouldn't have got near that. Just have a look at this. It's going in the far corner. Great block.
Well, they've given an offside, so it wouldn't have counted, but Fabri wasn't to know that. And here's Acosta. Now, Cesar Sampaio,
well,
recently booked.
Sorry, I was saying he could be off.
He is off. It's 10 aside for the 5 minutes that remain. Player who got a red card in the last Copa America a couple of years ago against Paraguay goes here for a second bookable offence.
Well, he's the player that I've wanted off the last half an hour, but I didn't think he'd go off in that fashion.
Oh, what a last 5 minutes we have here. Argentina back on equal terms, with full justification about, as far as the players on the pitch are concerned, Brazil back on equal terms on the scoreline with no justification at all. And Dunga had to be careful then.
Well, the first one's a great block, but I think you see here that Dunga doesn't attempt to play the ball.
He was having his shirt pulled in the first place by Acosta. Simeone and Jorginho, a tussle to typify everything that's gone before in terms of the huge commitment here by both countries to progress into the semi-final. Jorginho from the short corner. Tulio's there again. Out comes Cristante and makes it his.
Well, the Argentinian defenders went asleep there for a minute. Allowing Janino and Jorginho, the short corner. They weren't alive to the situation. It could have proved costly.
Well, are we exactly a year to the day from Brazil's most famous penalty shootout going to see them involved in the same type of conclusion? Tafarel, of course, the goalkeeper, who came up trumps against Italy, saved from Daniele Massaro. He saw the great Robbie Baggio miss and Franco Baresi before him. He's got a very, very good record in these penalty confrontations, but we're still a couple of minutes away from that. Juninho. Argentina could change their attitude now, but of course in doing so they risk maybe losing the whole pot of gold. And that's what it means to beat Brazil, even though the Copa America itself is not directly at stake here. Certainly Argentina's grip on it is. And it's been played like a final. Savio. Jorginho.
That's poor play there from Savio. Just 2 minutes remaining on the clock. He's got to get the ball in the box. He had the opportunity to put an early cross in with his right foot. He let it be too precise, getting it back on his left foot. And the defender got the block tackle in.
Cáceres. A touch from Tulio, gives it back to Cáceres again. Well, now the game finishing the way it started, the way the whole of the first half went, until the imbalance for so long caused by Estrada's sending off in the final minute of the first half. Only balanced out later on by the red card for Cesar Sampaio. Edmundo concedes a corner.
Well, no one's in a hurry to take it, are they? I think they've both decided that draw will do.
Well, I doubt if they've got the energy, to be honest, Trevor. It's been physical strain, the mental demands as well. Fabri has come up, Ayala's there, he's useful in the air. Aldair makes it his. Back with Simeone, 90 minutes played. 2 of the 3 previous quarterfinals have been decided by penalties. Oh, and Acosta doing his best to make the shootout not necessary here.
Once again, a clever little ball from Simeone. Acosta does the right thing, he can't delay it, he knows Aldair is close to him, hits it first time. Could have gone anywhere, but certainly in the last seconds of the game, it's worth a try.
Brazil have got out of jail here, a controversial equaliser. 7 minutes from the end, from Tulio, the substitute, who clearly handled and controlling before lifting the ball beyond Cristante. 2-2, it's finished, and Brazil take part in a penalty shootout a year to the day when they won the World Cup from the penalty kick situation, when Taffarel was the goalkeeper of the present side. Dunga also took a penalty, but Brazil will remember that the year before that they met Argentina in the quarter-final of the Copa America and lost a penalty shootout. So you pay your money and you take your choice, but a hugely entertaining and eventful 90 minutes here has finished 2-2. Batistuta and Balbo for Argentina, the scorers in the first half. Edmundo with a classy goal to make it 1-1 early on, and then Tulio in the nick of time, with luck very much on Brazil's side.
Well, I just hope that Argentina have already decided prior to the match, in the case of penalties, who will take them, because Passarella has been sent off and he certainly can't decide at this moment. It's going to be left to the players.
Well, we were getting reports, Trevor, that Cáceres, Simeone, Borelli, now they're still on the pitch, but the other two, Balbo and Batistuta. But of course, other factors, that's all very nice in theory after the last training session. But Passarella has come out there. I'm not sure he's entitled to do that.
I think he's saying, I'll take the penalty.
The arguments here are about the handball. Well, that's refereeing for you. As you said quite rightly, Trevor, he's had a magnificent game in every instance except one that's at least taken us this far. To say it's decided it Brazil's way means that Zagallo's men have to be successful from the penalty spot. Taffarel getting instructions from the veteran coach here, but Passarella is being asked to leave the premises. The reports from the Brazilian camp talk of Dunga, Roberto Carlos, Edmundo, who of course missed the penalty in the opening game against Ecuador, Andre Cruz and Leonardo. Well, Leonardo's been substituted, so he's not in the mix.
I just wondered if it went through Zagallo's mind that Zinho's the only one who scored with a penalty in this competition for Brazil, whether with a couple of minutes left he didn't decide to bring him on as a substitute.
Well, possibly. Sorry, Trevor, I was just concentrating there on a handshake between Passarella and the referee to settle the matter, and he then went down the tunnel. And you're quite right, having been sent from the bench, he's not entitled to get back out there at all. So it's been an intensely dramatic match, and that will only increase as the place in the semi-final is decided here at skill from the penalty kicks, and certainly didn't beat them easily. Well, after lengthy formalities here, the penalty shootout about to get underway. Cristante, very much the junior of the two goalkeepers. And up steps Roberto Carlos. Who scored a penalty in the '93 shootout between these two countries. He's asked to score again for Brazil here to get the shootout off for Brazil on the right foot with Roberto Carlos's famous left foot. Still the officials aren't satisfied.
Well, this is very unsettling for the player. It's not what Carlos wants at this moment. He just wants to get on and take the penalty. Whatever the delay is, it's not doing him any favours at all.
Well, his attention diverted for a moment. Trying to get focused now on putting the ball beyond Cristante when he gets the signal to do so. Well, I don't know about you, Trevor, but I'm starting to shake with nerves here, so goodness knows what it's like for the players.
Well, I've never seen Carlos take a penalty, but my guess is he's going to blast this ball as hard as he possibly can. Any thoughts?
Well, you'd certainly say that from the way he's been taking the free kicks. What they're trying to do is get the players who aren't in the nominated 5 out of the centre circle. Finally, Roberto Carlos gets the signal to take the first penalty of the shootout for Brazil. In it goes. And it was a pretty good thump, Trevor.
Well, as we expected, he's blasted it as hard as he possibly can. Keeper dives the wrong way. Nothing wrong with that.
So, from behind, Argentina get level with Perez.
Well, it's a similar penalty, isn't it? Driven hard and low, keeper dives the wrong way.
Well, Brazil have been trying hard to find penalty takers in this competition. Here comes Tulio. And he's rather scuffed it in.
Well, I think if you see this again, if the keeper had stood and not moved, he may have saved it. Straight down the middle, Cristante dives and wishes he hadn't bothered. Well, that's not the most convincing penalty, is it?
But it's 2-1 to Brazil. Acosta. Another veteran from the shootout of '93 in the Copa America, and he scores, and it's 2-2.
Once again, we're seeing a very good standard, 4 out of 4. There you see the side foot, nice and accurate, enough pace. Keeper dives the wrong way again.
Andre Cruz, who is a dead ball specialist. Viewers of Italian football will know that. Nothing given away as yet from the penalty takers. Andre Cruz, and it's saved by Cristante. The first failure, it's come from Brazil.
Well, it's the first time he's guessed right. And he makes a good save. Pushes it out with his left hand.
Well, he's following nobly in the footsteps of Goicoechea, Cristante, but here comes Simeone. And Taffarel saves, so we're level again. Three penalties each. Two apiece have been scored.
Little side foot from Simeone, not a great deal of power. Taffarel guesses. It's back to all square.
And Dunga. Well, when you've taken one in a World Cup final shootout, you shouldn't be fazed in a quarter-final. But the job has still got to be done by Brazil's captain. And it is. 3-2 to Brazil.
Nerves of steel, Dunga. That's a great penalty. Calm as you like, driven just inside the post. Keeper goes the wrong way.
Well, can Nestor Fabri make it all square again? No! A second Taffarel save. Brazil are nearly there. A failure by Fabri.
Good save, wasn't it? Elects to go the right way, moves slightly early, as they all do. Gets down to make a good save.
Well, Edmundo. Going through his mind perhaps thoughts of the failure in the game against Ecuador when Brazil started the competition. Didn't cost them then. Now he has the chance to put the World Cup holders into the semi-final of the Copa America. Argentina are out. No hat-trick of titles for them in the South American Championship. Brazil will play United States. And Edmundo's penalty.
Well, here you see it. Cristante guesses the right way, gets his hands to it, but the power takes it through him into the back of the net.
Brazil have knocked out Argentina and gained revenge for two previous setbacks in those tournaments won by Argentina in 93 and 91. Memories of the World Cup as well of 1990. But my goodness, they've done it the hard way here, and they got to the penalty shootout in a most controversial manner with a goal that shouldn't have been allowed, but having been asked to take penalties, they took them better than Argentina. And Edmundo, who's never far from the headlines, has sealed it here to Brazilian jubilation. Much more a home fixture this, of course, for them than for Argentina. So close to the Brazilian border, the greater share of tickets here for the Brazilians. They've outnumbered Argentina in that respect, and they've outnumbered them in the penalty shootout here by 4 goals to 2 after a thrilling 2-2 draw over 90 minutes. So we now know the semi-final lineup. Colombia will take on the hosts Uruguay, and Brazil have a rematch against the United States, shades of last year, and also shades of last year as well, on July the 17th, a successful penalty shootout, as they had to win the World Cup. They've done it here by the same route in the Copa America quarter-final.
Thanks very much to Trevor Francis and Martin Tyler. High drama. And so much for Phil Thompson and Mark Lawrenson to reflect on when we come back. It was getting your thoughts on it.
Well, I thought it was very, very disappointing for Argentina. You know, I did say as soon as it went in, how do you feel with the handball? Because it was, you know, we all look back to Diego Maradona. But I don't think Argentina deserved that. They defended exceptionally well. I thought the second half was all, in the first half it was all aggression. Second half was all controlled aggression. Defended really, really well. And I just felt very, very sorry for them.
You've mentioned the word controlled aggression there, and the fact, Phil, that the referee did such a good job in the first half of controlling the boiling points in the match. It's ironic, really, that, as we'll see in a couple of minutes, it looks a clear mistake by the ref.
Yeah, well, it is. It's not, you know, we look at it again. It is a drastic mistake. The ball's come across. Whether he's been unsighted, we can't really say. But he's took it so far down the arm. But he did control the game, as everybody wanted to see it, because it was electric, atmosphere and everything. And he's done so much to make it a good game for everybody. And then he's just blown it on that one decision.
Mark, do you share?
He just can't have seen it.
Sympathy for
Argentina? Most definitely. The referee can't have seen it, Paul. He can't have seen the handball otherwise, because we've seen it with blatant, you know, the benefit of hindsight, slow motion, whatever you want to call it. But he just cannot have seen the incident. Yeah, I mean, they're unfortunate, and talk about mixed emotions in the game. How does Taffarel feel now?
Absolutely,
you know,
right.
Letting the second goal, looks as though his team was slipping away. They scored very, very late, and he made 2 super saves in the penalty shootout. They weren't misses, they were really good saves.
Brazil hadn't conceded a goal in this Copa America, but coming into the big game against Argentina, that didn't last very long. In fact, it lasted only 3 minutes. A fantastic opening for Argentina. Abel Balbo, Mark.
Yeah, good pass by Borelli. Balbo breaks away down the right-hand side, and it was just the sheer pace of the shot that beat Taffarel in the goal. It was very, very early on, and it announced Argentina's intentions in the game, didn't it? To take the game to Brazil.
The intensity of the battle was extraordinary in the first quarter of an hour, really.
It was, and it was, as I say, after everybody giving so much stick to Argentina after the defeat by the USA. They were out to prove something. They were playing against the world champions, and they took the game by the scruff of the neck. They were excellent in that early part of the game. Brazil didn't know what hit them. And we looked at Dunga in the midfield, who, when we've seen in the Umbro Cup, dominated games. It was all too quick for him. Little fellas around him and everything. He just couldn't get to grips with it.
Does that indicate to you that maybe Dunga's a player who's maybe on the downslope now?
Maybe so. He can control a lot of games and everything, but I think Argentina sacrificed width, pushed a lot more people into the middle of the park, and didn't give him a chance. And he looked so pedestrian in the middle.
I think the other thing, Paul, though, was that his 4th game? In you know, not a lot of days, after quite a long, hard season in the German league as well. And I think he can be forgiven for one discrepancy of a game, because he's been outstanding in the other games for them.
Fair enough.
I think we're being a bit hasty by writing him off.
Point taken. Now, Brazil, it does say an awful lot for them, even though they were blitzed in the first 5 minutes of the game by Argentina. 9 minutes in, they're level. It's 1-1, with what Trevor Francis called a perfect equaliser.
Well, it's just all from the cross, wasn't it? It was hit so hard, so low. And Edmundo, he just redirected the pace and the power of the cross past the goalkeeper. It was a super goal, a super reply, wasn't it?
Well, Gabriel Batistuta is a man that we gave great praise to before the game against the United States, and he couldn't score a goal when Argentina needed one badly then, but Argentina needed one badly tonight, and he delivered to make it 2-1 to Argentina. His 13th goal in 16 Copa America.
This is what Brazil lacked, the bit of movement in those inside forward positions. And him and Balbo are always looking to get in there, to cause people problems, get in behind them. And he doesn't need a second chance, does he? Batistuta, when he's in that position, he's going to try and hit the ball as hard as he can and hit the target. And Taffarel has made an absolute nightmare of a decision. It looks as though he's tried to get hold of it to the side, and I think it's gone right through his arm. I
just wonder whether Passarella now in the dressing room's wondering about whether taking Batistuta off so early in the game.
My next question was going to be, there was a whole raft of substitutions through the first, 20 minutes of the second half.
Yeah.
You would consider that the key one, would you?
Because I think Passarella then decided after about an hour that, to have what we hold, basically, and, the longer it went on, it didn't look as though Brazil were going to score. OK, they've scored a goal that we'd call dodgy because of the handball, but, in hindsight, maybe tomorrow morning and it's the old Monday morning quarterbacking and think, maybe. Even the biggest thing about it was the penalties. He's got Balbo off, he's got Batistuta off, and they're two fellas who, without a doubt, would have been taking penalties in that last time, and two of them have failed to score.
well, we weren't sure that we were going to have penalties until very late in the piece, where we 81 minutes in. And this is a moment that's going to be discussed at length. Tulio's arm.
I think Trevor even called it. He was offside just before it as well. I think he's took a step back, and that's maybe why he's had to reach for his arm. Well, I sat back, I thought, well, he's got to give... it's got to be handball. And I couldn't believe it. They were all jumping, all the substitutes. And
he's not in a bad position, the referee. He's in the middle of the goal. Maybe he's just unsighted, but I think when your man takes his shirt off in the dressing room, he'll have mitre imprinted down his forearm, won't he? But it wasn't that bad a position, the referee. He just cannot have seen it, Paul, because he's, less than 15 yards away?
I don't even think the goalkeeper, I think it's took his mind off. He can't wait to get up, whatever's happened, and have a go. And he's just fell back, whereas we've seen a lot of the goalkeepers standing up till they've made the decision, and he's just fell back and the ball's just gone alongside him.
Extraordinary, really, that we get to this stage of the tournament and the Copa America has a habit of throwing up big incidents of this sort. We're at a major moment, decisive moment, late in the quarter-final before we get one.
Yeah, but I think also a lot of the games we've seen have been in slow motion in comparison to what we saw tonight. It was a full-blooded, 100-mile-an-hour head-on collision between two of the best teams in the world, wasn't it?
And I think for an incident-packed game, as we've just witnessed, I think for the referee to make one mistake, and OK, we know it was a desperate mistake, I think the referees in all the tournaments have been brilliant, magnificent.
That meant it was to be the penalty shootout, and we were taking different views here in the studio, weren't we, as to which goalkeeper would stand the test better. What's your considered opinion now, Mark?
Well, we fancied Taffarella, didn't we? Taffarella, I should say. He'd done it in the World Cup as well for Brazil, almost a year to the day. And again, he made two super saves. It really did.
How important is it, Phil, that they have a keeper at Brazil in Taffarel who's been in this situation? Mark said something interesting as we watched it. Cristante seems to have got smaller, he said, when we went to the penalty shootout.
He's inexperienced.
Yes.
In international football. Taffarel's been there, seen it, done it, and I think he used his experience. You don't often see the referee disallowing. When it comes to a penalty shootout, even if they move, you very seldom see them making a decision and make them have a retake. So what do the keepers do? They move, and as you'll see there, he shimmies to the right and then goes to his left. And he saved it. Yeah, I know, but Mark, they're not allowed to, but they do it, and more so in penalty shootouts. And I think the experience of Taffarel there, it's told.
And I think, tell you what would have been interesting, because we waited what seemed like hours, didn't we, for the penalties to be taken while the referee and the linesman sorted it out. But I don't know if you noticed, Gala went over to Taffarel, and he just seemed to have a little quiet word in his ear. I'd love to have known what he said to him. We'll probably find out tomorrow, won't we?
Ironically, as usual in these situations, it's a hero of the 90 minutes, Nestor Fabri, certainly in that capacity for Argentina tonight with his defensive work, but he's asked to step up and take a crucial penalty. And Claudio Taffarel is the man who makes the save.
Fabri was absolutely magnificent because they were under so much pressure, and he was there at the heart of the defence, tackled well, headed the ball well, and he was there for everything that was asked. And Zanetti, by the way, was quite extraordinary for a young lad.
Well, Edmundo, he'd been on target in normal time. He was asked to take what would be the winning penalty for Brazil, and to general delight all across that massive country, and to general delight in the packed ranks of Brazilian supporters in Rivera, he did what his country had asked him to do there.
I think Cristante actually got his fingertips to the ball, didn't he? But I think it was just the power of Edmundo's shot. It was right in the corner of the goal, and it was a super penalty under intense pressure. And I don't think until you've been in that situation you can realise how much pressure there is, and everything goes through your mind. Absolutely everything.
There speaks the voice of experience. Point taken. It's a dreadful shame we're losing either of those teams at this stage, Phil, isn't it?
I think so. It's probably the game that we would have liked to have seen in the final. We thought we'd probably get it for the semi-final, but after a drastic mistake to field 9 ex-players, we can say, in the game beforehand, and he's gone and paid the price.
All right, just before we leave you, and it is rather late, but I hope very much you've enjoyed the entertainment. A couple of reminders about what's coming up here on Sky Sports. You can see the highlights of an incident-packed night's football. United States, Mexico, Brazil against Argentina at 7 tonight. And then we're on to the semi-final stage now. First up in Montevideo in the Centenario Stadium, it'll be Colombia against Uruguay, starting at 1 a.m. on Thursday morning. And the second semi-final, the United States against Brazil, Friday morning at 1. Montevideo, the venue, there once more. Well, Phil and Mark, thanks very much indeed for your company. Just before we let you go, quick word on the semi-finals.
We're going to go and deliver the milk now on the way home.
You're late. Colombia, Uruguay, Phil?
Uruguay. I've tipped them from the start with the home advantage. Again, I think it's expected of them, and I think they'll be through to the final.
And Mark?
Same. Uruguay for me. Francisco, there'll be a difference between the two sides.
He's been magnificent.
What about Brazil, USA?
I think Brazil will be so relieved after tonight. I think the manager will sit them down and realise the error of the ways. And I don't think the USA can come up with anything like the amount of resistance that Argentina showed against them. You've got to go for Brazil.
Phil, you concur with that?
Yeah. I just fancy Brazil.
We're not actually agreeing, are we?
We certainly have.
It must be early in the morning.
USA,
you better get to bed.
USA will give it a magnificent display, no doubt. Great spirit and everything, but Brazil for the final.
All right, thanks very much to you both. Really enjoyed your company. Highlights coming again tomorrow night, just to remind you about that. The highlights of this night, well, we can't possibly pack them all into one closing little montage, but here's a little sample. And sadly, no third Copa America for Argentina. Bye for now.